Welcome to Eden Hope Academy Writers Club. We are working with My Story is Beautiful to create beautiful books for you this year. So your books will look like these when they're done. And we will design a cover for you and a back cover. And then we'll take your writing, your poetry, and your pictures that you take, or the drawings that you draw, and we will create a beautiful book out of them for you. And this book will be for sale on Amazon.com, and we will also have writing events where you will be able to sell your book and be able to sign them for people at our different authors events. And at those, you will also be able to speak about your book. So there's so many great opportunities when you publish your book. Also, something to think about, when you are 90 years old and you've got grandchildren, guess where you can go? You can go to the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C., and you can say, hello, I would like to see a copy of my book. And guess what they'll bring you? Do you know what they'll bring you? They will bring you your book, because it's there down at the it'll be at the Library of Congress. Oops, it'll be at the Library of Congress as well. So it's such an exciting class. You're going to have 10 weeks of poetry and of short paragraph writing. And then you're going to have 2 weeks of grammar. And then we'll put your poetry and your pictures together in your book, so it will be ready for you to give out as Christmas presents around Christmas time. And then next semester, we're going to be working on a full story for you. So be processing those stories. The reason that we're doing poetry first is so we can help you take the essence out of what you're thinking and write it in a way that's powerful and impactful to others. So this week we're going to start out with our first poem, and we're starting out with a haiku. And a haiku is a Japanese poem. It's generally about nature, although you do not have to stick with something that's nature related. And it usually has 3 stanzas, and in each stanza, so each part, 3 different stanzas, and each part has syllables of 5, 7, 5, 5, 7, 5, 5, 7, 5. Now, what do I mean by a syllable? Well, what I mean by a syllable is that when you speak, each word has a syllable. So my name is Kim. So how many syllables are in my name? It's just Kim. Now I want you to go around the room or talk with yourself, so you can pause me and have everyone go through the syllables of their name. So if your teacher's name is Cheryl, Miss Cheryl, then you would say Cheryl. That's 2. So pause me right now and go around the class and do all the syllables of the people in your classroom. Are you back? Good, it's good to see you again. Excellent. So you've learned about syllables a little bit with your teacher. You've done some practices. And now we're going to go on to our haiku. And what was that pattern again? It was 5, 7, 5. Now, the first haiku you're going to write is going to be about nature. You're going to write it with your class, and you can make it whimsical or you can make it serious. So what I want you to do is write a haiku about rain. And I want you to think of the essence of rain. So what does it sound like? What season is it that you're writing about? So those are the first 2 questions you're going to ask. The next question that you're going to ask the whole class, you're going to ask yourself right now, is can you smell it? Can you feel it? Can you taste it? And think of all of your senses and what that rain represents to you. And then as a class, I want you to write a haiku about rain. So remember, your first line has 5 syllables in it. So maybe pitter patter of the rain. That's a terrible sentence, but that would be 5 syllables. So pitter patter of the rain might be your first sentence. Please don't use that sentence, because I know you can do a much better job. And make sure you get in all of the senses, the smell of the rain. can you think of what that smells like? Does it smell like fresh laundry coming out of the dryer? Or does it push away the heat of the summer? Does fog lift from the road after the rain? What is that rain? Or is it so cool that as it's coming down, does it hit this windshield like ice popping on the windshield because it's winter? Really think about the imagery of that poem that you're writing as a class. Really get into the imagery as you're doing it. So pause again and write your haiku. Are you back? I'm so glad you're back. All right, so we're going to go through 2 different types of haiku. One is just a fun haiku that you can do just as a thank you letter. So in your book, I'm hoping that you will have 2 haikus. The first one will be about nature, and the second one will be a haiku as a thank you note to someone that's very meaningful. So my son, one of my sons, is autistic, and he has a lot of problems. He can't read, he has some other difficulties, but there's a man at a woodworking shop near my house who spends every single Monday evening working with him. And this man is fantastic. He even has a PhD in physics, and he comes out with out-of-the-box ways to teach my son woodworking that other people may not think about. And he gets paid very little, and he's not doing it for money. He's doing it just because he loves this stranger boy who needs a boost. And so I give him eggs every week from our chickens as a thank you gift to him. And he wrote a thank you note back to me, and that thank you note said, brown, green, blue, and white. So let's count your brown, green, blue, and white. 5 syllables. My tummy likes the yummy eggs. My tummy likes the yummy eggs. That's 7. Green-eared chickens, 2. So that's 5. So let's read it so we're not just counting. Brown, green, blue, and white. My tummy likes the yummy eggs. Green-eared chickens, 2. And then the next stanza, remember we have 3 stanzas. Pop, crackle, sound 3 shells, with onions, garlic, cheese. So see how he used some words that like and cheese, like that. So you can use different sounds in your writing as well if you choose to. Omelet, chomp, yum yum. Onions and garlic make me stinky, I care not, but green eggs need ham. So that was his thank you note to me, and it was very sweet, and it was very meaningful to me that he chose, instead of thank you so much for the eggs, he spent the time to make a fun haiku for me. And so I responded, and really what I wanted to do was respond back to him with a huge hug that said that I really appreciated what he was doing for my son, and that what he was doing was extremely meaningful to me, but it was really life-changing for my son. So I wrote it, instead of writing that and going, I like you so much and I really appreciate you, I wrote it in a haiku, and it was a way that was far more touching to him and very personal to him. So I wrote back, patient woodwork man, boy struggles daily with life, together they create. Chisel, spoon, scroll saw, strope, skills for one who cannot read, purpose gifted to boy. Physics PhD, marker drawn on scroll saw straight, genius used for love. And so do you see how in that poem I was able to tell him things that I probably wouldn't have written in a note to him. I probably wouldn't have said that he was a genius in a note. That would have been kind of awkward. And I probably wouldn't have said how much it means to my son, because that, again, it would have felt kind of awkward. But I could say that in my words through a poem that really touched this man's heart. And so for your assignment for this week, and I want you to work on it in class, really talk to your classmates, talk to your teacher about it. And remember, in this poetry class, you guys are like adult students. So when you're talking, I expect you to be focused on the poem. That's the expectation, is that you will be focused on the poetry and that you will be working with each other to craft the best words for your poem. So your assignment for this week is that you are going to write 2 haikus and take 2 pictures. Now the haikus that you're going to write are going to be, the first one's going to be whimsical and kind of fun, but does that mean that you can just like write it out really fast? Well, sometimes you can. Sometimes you have a burst from God, like a download, and you can write it out really quickly. But what I'm trying to get, and that's awesome, especially if it's really good, but what I'm trying to get is for you to struggle with it a little bit, to think of the perfect words to put in there. And Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens, once said that the difference between a good word and the right word is the difference between a lightning bug and lightning. It's totally different. So I want you to think of ways, even in your whimsical, probably nature-oriented haiku, I want you to think of ways that you can really go in and get the essence of what you're talking about for your reader. And I want them to be thinking about your haiku for days and days and days. And then I want you to find a picture that represents that haiku. So if you do a picture of, or if you do a haiku on eggs, then maybe you can take a picture of eggs frying in your frying pan, or eggs, a couple eggs and put them next to an onion or something like that. So that would be maybe some ideas that we would have done with this gentleman's haiku to me. And then the second haiku is going to be more serious, and that's going to be a thank you letter haiku to someone who has done something for you. And so I want you to think about the emotions that are involved. I want you to think of all of your senses with this. So how would it taste? How would it feel? What did that person do? What is the character of that person that made what they did significant for you? How did you feel when that person did this for you? And I want you to draw and think about all of those emotions before you start writing. And it's always better if you're writing it and you just feel like you're getting a data dump and it's just coming from the Lord and that you're writing it. So always pray before you write and ask God to make what you write be a blessing to someone else. And so I want you to write the second haiku, and have it just filled with emotion about the person so that they feel completely transformed and touched by your writing. And then I want you to pair that with a picture as well. And so it might be the picture of the person, it might be a picture of you saying thank you, anything like that would be wonderful. And when you're done, if you've chosen the option to have your book done, then send those pages to me at kim@edenhopeacademy.com. It's right down there. And we will start doing your book. And if you haven't, then you can print those out on a sheet of paper and you can put those together yourself as a book later. So either way, you can still have a book. So I look forward to seeing you next week, and remember to really work on those haikus. I'll see you later.